Welcome to the Transfusion Medicine Data Portal support video series. These videos have been developed to support British Columbia's transfusion medicine staff and stakeholders in accessing and analyzing their transfusion medicine data from BC's Central Transfusion Registry. This video provides information about how to access and manipulate the cubes in the Transfusion Medicine Data Portal. We'll take a look inside at our test system again and the data that is available and can be manipulated. After logging into the TM Data Portal, select the Cubes tab to view the available cubes. You'll notice that there are three types of cubes: disposition, recipient, and whole unit, and each are available at your health authority or a summary provincial level. We'll look at the different content in each of these cubes a little later. However, the functions and features of each cube remain the same, regardless of the type of data inside. Just as with the CTR reports, select the cube of interest and click Run in order to open up the parameter selection block. For these cubes, you have the option of date and, in some cases, disposition status. As with the reports, date may be entered by typing in the date in the expected format and waiting for the color change for validation, or selecting the date from the drop-down calendar. The multi-selection block is accessed by clicking the three dots. All available values are selected by default in this case. Uncheck in order to pick one or more, or remove one, or remove all, or to select all. If you wish to have these parameters as the default parameters available in each time this cube opens up, you can select this as Save as Default. When you're ready to run the cube, click Submit, or click Cancel to return to the main page, or select Reset to clear any previously saved default selections. After selecting Submit, the cube will process and appear in the pop-up window. As mentioned before, the layout of the cube remains the same regardless of which cube you are in. And it contains, of course, the cube, the crosstab with the layers of columns and layers of rows and aggregate summary data in the middle. It also contains the list of fields available in the resource panel. You can see that this whole unit calendar cube is highlighted because that is the cube that we have run. By either opening each folder set individually, you will begin to see the available fields to choose from, or simply by clicking near the crosstab, the full list will appear. Down at the bottom, underneath the resource panel, is a filter menu that can be accessed by double-clicking the little arrows. We'll talk more about filters in a little bit. We also have functions up here for printing and exporting, just as we did with the CTR reports. You'll also notice that the caveats and data update dates, just as appear on the main screen in each of the tabs of the Transfusion Medicine Data Portal, are repeated inside the cube, so it's always very clear the date range that you're working with and any additional information that's important as you're reviewing these cubes. Lastly, just underneath the data caveats is the parameter block. This repeats the parameters that were selected when this cube was run and are editable inside the cube. So let's start there in the parameter block. We originally selected a start date of January 1st and an end date of February 28th so that all the data in this cube for our region is within these 2 months. We also chose to include expired, transfused, and discarded, so all status is available to us. If we wish to update this information now that we're inside the cube, we can simply click on, for example, the calendar, change our date, click OK, and submit the new parameters. The crosstab will refresh with the updated data, and we can bring back our filter menu. When you look in the resource panel at the types of fields that are available, you'll notice a few different icons appearing. There are ones that look like a set of documents. These are called dimensions and are items and things that can be counted. So each of these ones with this little dimensions icon next to it can be dragged into the crosstab in order to expand and drill down further on the information. For example, if we know that this total count includes expired, transfused, and discarded products, but want to see what a breakdown of that looks like, we can take the disposition status, grab it with our mouse held down until we see this orange bar appearing. I'm now about to add this to the columns because you can see it running horizontally across the top. When I let go, see that wheel turning, and we now see the breakdown of transfused, expired, and discarded. The other options that are available here are these multiple sets of lines, almost like a list. These are called the detail fields. The detail fields are far too extensive to just simply drag and drop into a crosstab like this. If we brought in every single disposition date or every single unit number, this would be a huge crosstab. However, each of these fields can be filtered. The dimension fields can also be filtered. So everything can be filtered, but only the dimension fields can be brought in as a drag and drop. Lastly, down at the bottom, the available fields to us, you'll see this little triangle. This is called the aggregate field, and in this particular cube, the only aggregate available to us is a count of whole units, and so that is the one that displays. But just like the dimensions, these summaries, when more than one exists, can be dragged in and removed to view different counts of different field types. As with other areas of the Transfusion Medicine Data Portal, you'll see additional features. And because of the way the system is built at the moment, these features are not necessary and in several cases do not work as well. So we'll focus simply on the ones that are appropriate for our needs at this time. So you saw me do a sample drag and drop, and how I clicked my mouse and held down in order to move the field around. You also saw when I brought something in, when I was ready to place it, the orange bar appeared when I was hovering my mouse over the exact right spot. If I try and drop it anywhere else, nothing happens. That's important to know when working with the various fields and bringing them in. If you want to remove a field or move a field within the crosstab, however, that looks a little bit different. Instead of grabbing the orange highlight on the resource side, I could, for example, if I wanted to take a look at this crosstab table in a different configuration, grab the disposition status that are in the columns. You'll see the name pop up, and if you look carefully, you'll also see the labels themselves become a little bit dotted. I can grab this field and instead of columns, move it over to become a row. And so I can change the look of my crosstab this way. If I decide that I no longer wish to see my disposition status, I can simply grab that again and bring it back over to the resource panel. A confirmation pops up requesting if I'm sure I wish to remove it. Yes, and it's gone. You'll notice as well in the resource panel when I'm clicked into the crosstab itself, a little red check will appear for those fields that are already part of the crosstab. So in this case, the mnemonic, the code for each product type, the region abbreviation, this will be your health authority region abbreviation here, as well as the year. The year is the default, even though in this case we know we've only displayed 1 month. So next, let's consider that perhaps we would like to filter these products. Maybe we know that all these components are here, but we really only want to see red cells and platelets. So we can come back down to the filter block down at the bottom, use the arrows to open so we can see the panel, and select the plus to add a filter. The filter we want to add relates to the mnemonic. Now, in this pop-up filter, we actually have the opportunity to select multiple fields and bring up multiple filters at the same time. However, this really slows the system down because the system doesn't really know which one we want to do first. So always filter one field at a time. And we may have to wait a minute. This is a relatively short list for a relatively short time frame. But if we were filtering on a long list, and particularly in a long time frame, this filter panel may take a while to populate. There's no indication that the system is thinking. You have to trust yourself that you clicked the right button and just be patient for a few minutes while we wait for the filters to appear. But now that our filter list has appeared, we simply select those ones that we want to see. In this case, red blood cells. And if we wish to add more, by holding down the control button and clicking the products of interest, the system will update to show us the fields that we wish to have in the crosstab. Now, when working with filters, we have to be a little cautious. If we were to just look at this data set without the information available to us on the left, we see that we have data from January 1st to January 31st that includes all statuses in our health authority. It would be very easy to think, without seeing this filter panel, that these were the only products that occurred, only transfusions, expires, and discards that occurred in our region in this time frame. So we really have to take into account the full picture every time we're working with this data. The next big piece that leads to is anything that we can do in this parameter block, we want to do in the parameter block. We do have the possibility of adding a filter for disposition status. However, if we do that and we change the content, forgive me there, change the content in the filter block to only show transfused, the status up here does not change, and it looks like we are still viewing transfused, expired, and discarded, when in reality we have filtered to only show transfused. So again, the takeaway message here, if it can be changed in the parameter block, only change it in the parameter block. Lastly, let's see if we can find an unknown or a blank record. These don't appear very often and are related to the completeness of the data available in the Central Transfusion Registry. Now, in this short time frame, and for these products, all products have a product ABO, which is wonderful, regardless of whether it's transfused, expired, or discarded. Let's see. Let's actually remove our filter by clicking this little erase button. all our products return. And let's also bring in product RH. And now here we begin to see some blanks. So a blank record is one that is not expected. We know that for plasma protein products, we are not going to receive a product RH. So we don't worry about it if it's not there. However, if the ABO was blank, the title instead of A, B, B, or O would have another header for unknown. And that would be where the field type is expected but was not provided. So again, a blank field is a field type that was not expected and not provided, whereas a record labeled as unknown is one where the record was expected but was not provided. More information about that specifically and when that might appear is available in the Frequently Asked Questions document. Now that we've done some manipulations inside the cube, let's say that we are ready to print or export. So just like the reports, up at the top is an export button, the little arrow out, and the printer button. And just like the reports, print does not actually send it to your printer. Print is a print to file button. And in this case, when I selected print, it automatically saved a copy to my download system. That's really going to depend on your system setup individually, whether a pop-up screen will appear or whether it will automatically download. If I want to export this in something other than the PDF that's saved, I go to the Export tab and I name my file. Here I will want to be really careful how I name this. I'm going to want to be really clear what I did and what I'm looking at. Because what is going to export is this panel here. You will see the logo and the cube, so you'll know where that came from. You'll see the data completeness date, and you'll see the parameters that you've selected. You will not see any filters that you've applied onto that data. So as we mentioned before, it becomes really important to know what you're looking at. So update the name. You can view report or save to file system. Can select your format. Can choose Excel in most cases. This is a great way to export to Excel. And we strongly recommend that you choose column or data format. Report format tries to make it very pretty, but not as easy to manipulate once it's out. So if you wish to do any further manipulations and sorts and sums, choose column or data. Can choose between XLS or XLSX and click OK to save. That covers the basics of viewing and manipulating the data inside the system. For more information about the cubes and how to manipulate and access the data, see Section 8 of the Transfusion Medicine Data Portal Manual. Visit the PBCO website for additional information or email the data portal to obtain user access forms, request training, or share any considerations and feedback. Up next, we'll look specifically at the whole unit cube, the types of data that are available, and ways that it can be accessed.